G'day, welcome to Nevadia. Sorry guys, I tried to hiss like a snake, but I'm just not very good at it. But as you can see, we have a special guest. So everyone, in case you haven't been following me on Twitter, this is Lucius. He is my children's python. He is absolutely adorable and one of the sweetest critters ever. He's such a sweetheart. So I've decided to do a bit of a Q&A. So I put out a tweet the other day, last week-ish, I think maybe Monday, going, hey guys, can you tell me what you would like to know if there's any questions that you have about him? And so I'm going to do a bit of a FAQ and also a bit of a not so FAQ. Quite a few people have asked me what type of snake he is. So as I said earlier, he is a children's python. So a children's python is a native Australian python. It is, if not illegal, at least very, very difficult to get exotic snakes into Australia due to our customs law. And to be honest with you, I totally agree with that. And the reason being is that our beautiful country is quite isolated from the rest of the world, which is why we have such unique critters. So if somebody brought in, let's say, ball pythons, which are just beautiful animals, but if there was an influx of ball pythons into Australia and they get out, it's inevitable, or someone's going to release them into the wild and they start breeding, they become an invasive species. So you have to have a really good reason to import exotic species of snakes into Australia. I mean, we already have had that problem with foxes, rabbits, cane toads. So that's my personal opinion. They grow to about 1.5 to 2 meters. This guy might, if I can go by how he's been growing since I got him, he's probably going to get onto the bigger side if my predictions are correct. So he might be up to about 2 meters. I'm going to have to let everyone who is not metrically inclined to figure that one out by yourself, because I do that all the time from imperial to metric. So it's a bit of a revenge for the non-metric using countries. America. Excuse me. As you can see, he's actually quite dappled. He's got this beautiful olive colour, but I'm not sure if you can see on him right now because it's not great lighting, but there's actually a slight iridescence, sort of a rainbowy colour. And I tried to film this the other day, but it was a little bit too cloudy, so I don't think I got a really good video of it, but I have obviously got these photos. When he was younger, he was less olive coloured, had a lot more obvious spots, and apparently it's quite common for children's pythons as they grow older to lose their spots, which is a bit sad, but a friend of mine did tell me that if that does happen, the snakes always also tend to get a little bit more personality, so it's a bit of a trade-off. And this guy is chock-a-block full of personality. He really is. Other common questions that I've been asked: how long will they live to? And they live up to about 20 years of age. So they're actually quite long-living animals. That's in captivity. Obviously in the wild, they live less long. But this guy's probably got to live to about that age. The enclosure that I keep him in is called a vivarium. And it is about 3 feet long, which is about 93 centimetres. That's going to be his permanent home. And I know that that's a bit weird because he's going to grow to about 2 metres. And a lot of people might think that's a bit unfair to have a 2 metre snake in a 93 centimetre long vivarium. But these animals actually really like to curl up and hide a lot. That's not going to be an issue for him. These are quite common snakes. They're very common in the pet trade. And I bought this from a local pet store who also sourced it from an ethical breeder. I made sure that they do that because there are a lot of dodgy breeders out there. He was quite expensive in regards to a pet. The setup and everything was well over $500 to set everything up. It's worth it because that's basically the same as what you would do for a dog. He himself was about 150 Australian dollars. That's basically the frequently asked questions. I might have missed one or two because this is going off the cuff, but I'm hoping that, I've got most of it. If you've got any more questions, please leave them in the comments below. So if you are my patron, you would know that I absolutely spam you guys with images and videos of Lucius, and I think that's a pretty good trade-off. I don't know, but I do get a lot of people who really just enjoy looking at photos of him because he is a cutie. Look at him. So these are a couple of my patron questions that have been asked of me. Sarah, who is also my good friend Unholy Sarah, she's another YouTuber. She's beautiful. You should go and check out her channel. Links in the description below if you haven't seen some of the things that we've done together. She asked, do you ever feed him live food? And also, can I please hold him? On the second question, yes, you can absolutely come over and hold him, but you are unfortunately going to have to come to Australia because getting him over to America is going to be a bit difficult. In regards to live food, it has been told to me, although I probably should have double-checked this one, it is illegal to feed live food in Australia. I have no problems with that, to be honest with you. There is a little bit of controversy in the herping community, which is obviously herps are reptiles, about feeding live versus frozen thawed. I don't feed live also ethically because I don't think it's right. Everyone has their own opinions, and I'm not saying that the people who are for live food feeding are right or wrong. It's up to you and the snake, but I don't think it's ethical because it's dangerous for the mouse, obviously, but it's dangerous for the snake as well. If the snake misses and you don't observe what's going on, the snake could get very seriously injured. I have seen some pretty awful images of snakes that have been off food, which can happen occasionally. So they go off food and the live mouse is in the tank and the person's walked away, hasn't continued to observe, and the mouse has attacked and caused some serious injuries. One person checked on their snake the next day and most of it was eaten by the live mouse. So that's one of the reasons why I don't agree with feeding live, because you can injure the snake quite badly because the rat or the mouse has nowhere to go because it's stuck in a tank with its predator, so it attacks as it would. Another reason why I don't think it's okay is that you are putting a helpless animal face to face with its predator and it can't get away, and that'd be an awful way to die. The exception I have in regards to that is sometimes snakes just don't eat frozen thawed mice and rats. They just don't do it for some bizarre reason. They have no idea why. Occasionally, in those cases, that's a little bit different, but I thankfully have a guy who will not stop eating. He's a good eater, so I don't think I'll have that problem. Another reason is that some parasites are temperature sensitive. If the parasites are in the mouse and you freeze it, the parasite also dies. It's not the same for all of them. There are obviously some parasites that can survive the freezing and thawing process, but some will be killed by the freezing and thawing process. Another advantage for me is it's more convenient. If your snake refuses to eat, then you've got a mouse that you have to look after. Also, it means that you have to go to the pet store every single week. Yeah, there's a lot more advantages, in my opinion, to disadvantages of feeding frozen thawed over live. I was actually thinking about doing another video talking about this, but I will leave links in the description below to a really great snake. Hello. really, really great snake and herp channel called Snake Discovery, and she talks about that and all the advantages and disadvantages. As I said, it is controversial, and I will ask you to respect the fact that it is a controversial thing and try to keep it nice in the comments below for that. Thank you. Aided Furball, he is another one of my patrons, and he's also a really good up-and-coming YouTube person, so obviously check the description below. He asked, so I know next to nothing about snakes, so my question is, what kind of misconceptions do you deal with about being a snake owner? Well, I would say probably one of the biggest misconceptions is that we are weird. Actually, that's probably not much of a misconception. As a snake owner myself, I would say that a lot of people have a lot of prejudice against the animal itself. I find it's really sad because snakes do have a lot of personality and they are great pets. Yeah, so I find it really sad that people kind of look at reptile owners, especially snake owners, to be just weird. There's been people I've seen online just say the most ridiculous things about this myth where the snake lies up against the person and is sizing you up, which is a total myth, because if an animal needs to line up and size it up against its prey, it would starve to death. So that's one common myth when it comes to snakes, and being a snake owner, you're not likely going to be eaten, mainly because, one, you're too big, unless of course you have an anaconda. If you feed them well, then you shouldn't be in trouble, but I will never get an anaconda, even if I had the opportunity to. Yeah, there's lots of misconceptions in regards to snake and snake owners, but that'd be the biggest one, is that snake owners are weird, when really, if once you get your head wrapped around the fact that this is a snake and not a dog, it's no different. A lot of people said that they're not domesticated, and neither are birds, and yet people still have pet birds. Another one is that a lot of people think it's cruel to have a pet snake. However, this guy is going to have reliable food, warm enclosure, veterinary care. Even though he might not be domesticated like a dog or a cat, he will still have a pretty good life. I don't love him any less than I would love a dog, because he's cute. I've bonded to him. I don't know if he's bonded to me, but he certainly prefers to sit on me than my friends when they come over and handle him. There's that misconception as well, is that you can't bond with a reptile like you can with a mammal. And I disagree with a lot of people on that one as well, because when I interact with him versus how he interacts with other people, he certainly prefers to be on me. There are quite a few misconceptions, but I would say those are the main ones. Another question has been asked by Ocean Keltoy, who is another amazing YouTuber out there. Again, links in the description below. He asks, do you agree that we do not step on snake? Yeah, it's not generally a good idea to step on a snake, especially in Australia, because if you step on a snake in Australia, the snake might bite. And I think we've all heard about the dangerous snakes in Australia. Oh, by the way, this guy is not venomous. Andrew, he says, how old is Lucius now? When, why, and how did you buy him? What's the cutest thing he does? And what's the most disgusting thing he does? Lucius is almost a year old now. He's probably about 11 months. So when did I buy him? I bought him at the beginning of January. Why did I buy him? Well, it's a bit of a funny story. When I was about 23, I watched my budgie get eaten by a carpet snake. It was pretty upsetting because, it's my pet bird, but at the same time it was absolutely fascinating. And then after that I was like, I want a pet snake. And I am now in a position where I can have a pet. Before I wasn't able to, so I ended up going, you know what, screw it, I'm going to get a pet snake. How did I buy him? Well, in Australia, we need to have a reptile license. Basically, you hop online, you pay $87 for 5 years, and then you get like a checklist and a care plan and everything like that, and you just buy your snake just like you would a bird or a fish. So yeah, that was pretty much how that happened. What is the cutest thing he does? Well, I think the cutest thing he tends to do is when I get him out of his tank, he just crawls up into the sleeve of my jacket and he just sticks his head out and watches the world in my sleeve. And that is just so cute. What's the most disgusting thing he does? Well, snakes aren't that dirty animals. You feed them once a week, so that means they poo once a week. However, I have experienced him pooing in my jacket and also urinating in my jacket, which is absolutely foul. Ugh. Skeptical Daniel, my internet son, how you going, son? He asks, can Lucius swim? I have not really tested this question because it's actually not that good for the snake. It is not something that snakes would like to do if they had a choice. I did have to because he decided to do a poo and then climb all through it, so I did have to give him a bit of a bath, and yes, they do swim. and he can swim. So that was a bit gross. The Rhino King, who asks this is a really good question. Do you think he has any awareness of you as an entity or just something warm in his environment? I don't know the answer to that question. I actually would hazard a guess that yes, he does recognize me as an entity in his environment. He does know when I am about to feed him. He comes to the front of the tank. He knows when he's due to be fed. When he is a bit hungry, he does come out and say hello to me as well, to go, hey, Mum, I'm really hungry. If I keep ignoring him because it's like, stop freaking growing, he will end up trying to eat me. As an entity, I think he does kind of recognize that I am around, but I also think I am just another warm thing in his environment. So I think it's probably a bit of both. Dave Stewart asks, does he have any regrets over that whole apple in the garden incident? Well, I thought that was a hilarious question, and I'm like, dude, do you have any regrets over the apple in the garden incident? I'll take that as a no. And the conspiracy/J, he says, why that snake? Why not a different one? When I went to buy him, there was only children's pythons available for sale. Had I waited a couple more weeks, I probably would have had an option to buy a blonde spotted python, and they're beautiful. But I do not regret getting this guy in the slightest. Yeah, if I had a choice of a different type of snake, I probably would have chosen a blonde spotted, but even still, I love this guy. I think he's gorgeous. And why this one particular? I actually wanted to get what I think was his sister. Snakes are notoriously hard to sex. My assumption was that it was his sister. But when I went to get her, she was really, really defensive. And I was like, no, she needs to be left alone. She doesn't want to come. So I got him, and he decided, and I still actually haven't taken him to the vet yet, so he might still be female, but everyone I've talked to have said that he is probably a male. Hello. When I went to get him, he also was a little bit defensive, but then he bit the guy who sold him to me, and that was a really good sign to say that he has got a good feeding reflex, which he does. And so you want that in a snake. Andy Fellows says, are you ever scared he'll turn against you? Snakes are like that, you know. Well, are you talking about the person who is a human snake? Or I'm like, oh, hello. Human snakes do tend to turn against you. He has actually tried to eat me. And the running joke, of course, is that he's sizing me up and, having a go. But as he gets older, he's probably not going to bite me or try to eat me. And even if he does, it's not likely going to happen because I'm just way too big for him. So no, I'm not worried about him turning against me. I also don't think they exactly have the intellect to be able to. They're not the smartest of animals, to be honest with you. Ex-Colt Baby, a very good friend of mine as well. I love it bits. Links in the description below. She asks, my question is, how did he get to be so dang cute? Uwu. I don't know. He is just so dang cute. Yeah. Nope. Sliding back. He is such a cutie. I think even though he is very, very cute physically, I think also he is very, very cute personality-wise. And I think the reason is that I handle him pretty much every single day, with the exception of the day after feeding, because that can make them vomit, which is not what you want. If that happens, they're used to being handled. They do tend to really chilled out personality, and that apparently is a sign of a good snake mum. So my friend who sold him to me has been really impressed with the way he's grown. Andrew, back to Andrew again. How did you decide on the name Lucius? Did you have another candidate? Well, I decided on the name Lucius. I was actually going to call him Lucifer because I thought, Garden of Eden, but I just continued calling him Lucius. I was like either Lucifer or Lucius, and just Lucius seemed to have settled on him, so that's why I called him Lucius. Andrew also asks another question. When you got him, was whether he was a male or female a consideration? I tried double checking this with my friend, but he never got back to me. I didn't mind. As I said, I wanted his sister. I just was like, I'd like her. She's really cute. But my friend, he did say that males, if I remember correctly, do tend to go off feed during the breeding season because they need to use that extra proteins to go towards sperm production rather than digestive. That was one thing that my friend said. And he says it can happen, but as I said with this guy, he's just eating and eating. So His personality is very food-centric. Yeah, ain't that right, big ears? One Ring, High Priest of Absurdist Satire. So One Ring, hello. One Ring also is a brand new YouTuber. If you have a chance, go and check out this guy as well. So he goes, is Lucius first snake you owned? And is his name supposed to be Harry Potter reference, or was it a happy coincidence? Yes, Lucius is the first snake I've owned, and I don't think I'll get another one because I don't have the place to store another one, even though I would desperately love a blonde spotted python. It wasn't supposed to be a Harry Potter reference. As I said, I wanted it more as a reference to the Garden of Eden. Erin, she asked, can you give Sneck a boot for me? Lucius is cute and needs boots. Boot. They don't actually like it. So, but yes, boot. There we go, maybe. You're a cutie. You are. So, yes, he's, I have done that for you. Nerdy Rodent says, what are some of the most common myths and misconceptions related to Lucius? Well, I would say the most common one would be, are they slimy? No, they're actually kind of just like touching a... I don't know. How would I explain this? Well, it's just like touching a snake. I don't know how to explain it. I can't think of anything. Maybe like really, really, really well laid flat sequins might be the closest that I can get you to imagine. That they are ferocious or aggressive animals. As you can see, he is not at all. He is such a sweetheart. As I said, he has bitten me a couple of times to try and eat me, but overall he's just never been a very aggressive snake. He has, obviously, when I first had him, sort of struck out at me, but that was more of a tap to go, hey, go away. But that was when he was about 30 centimetres big. He is at least 60 centimetres now. And as I said, I've been handling him almost daily for about 7 months now. So he's pretty chilled. Another thing is that people think they're disgusting. No. I would say that, a dog would be more disgusting because they poo every day. I find the worst myth is that they're scary. They are a bit confronting when you first get one. I was very afraid of him when he was 30 centimetres big. But now I just... when I first got him, I was making sure that he climbed onto me and I respected that part of him. Now I just reach in and grab him. He's not scary. They're not scary animals at all. Just once you get used to them. If you're totally terrified of them, that's fine. But if you're not, I really recommend them as a pet. I really do. They're quite good to look after. Callan, she says, when is the 24-hour snake cam coming? Unfortunately, it's not, because you'll just be looking at a tank. He very rarely comes out. Basically, he might want to come out and do a little bit of wandering around when he's a bit hungry and wants to do some hunting, but as a general rule, he just kind of sits and stays in his hides, and he's actually pretty easy to find. If I can't find him in his hides, then I start to freak out. Andy Fellows says, what made me get him? That's an interesting one. I have a friend who had a corn snake when I was younger and I just never understood why. Lol. Well, as I said earlier, what made me get him was a desire to get a snake after watching one eat my budgie. Also, another reason why I got him is that they're really quite easy animals to look after. As I said, you only feed once a week, you clean out their tank maybe once a month. Yeah, and they just kind of look after themselves. You can go away for 4 weeks and you come back and you just have a hungry, angry snake. If you have a dog or a cat, you need someone to come over. So there's quite a few advantages having them as a pet. Julie, she says, my questions are super boring, which never. What breed is he? What do I feed him? And how old is he? Super boring, I know, but I'd love to know the answers. Thank you, Meredith. So, as I said earlier, he is a children's python. I fed him 2 hoppers and what is known as a fuzzy. So these are mice that are at different stages of life because the smaller the snake, the smaller the meal it can take. I'm going to probably go up to the next level as soon as I run out of hoppers because he's eating them like there's no tomorrow. How old is he? As I said, he is about a year old, just under a year. Julie also asks, but does he speak Parseltongue? Do you speak Parseltongue? No. Satyr of the Pen, aka Gaelic Knox, who also did my channel logo, so go check out their Twitter. They said, what is his feeding schedule and general routine like? I feed him once a week on a Monday afternoon. He's a weekly feed because if I feed him any less than that, he will try to do some of his own feeding of my fingers. His general routine, well, usually he does a poo the next day, so I go and scrounge around and see if I can find it. I try to clean out his tank once a month. Other than that, that's basically what I do, and as I said, take him out of his tank pretty much every day, just to give him something to do, to explore, and to make sure he's nice and calm when somebody comes over and wants to play with him. Purple rhymes with orange. He goes, have you made any hats for your little pal? There's a couple of people who've asked me that, and no, I have not. He's not a big fan of having his head touched. No, not many snakes actually are. And I'll see if I can show you, if he'll let me. They're not big fans of having their heads touched. And now he's making a liar out of me. For me, I don't think it's worth putting the snake through having something on his head for a photo. That's just me. I don't judge people who put hats on their snakes because a lot of snakes don't mind being touched on his head. But for me and for him, I don't. Christopher Jimenez, or Stuttering Chris, he goes, ooh, I have a question about Lucius. Can you really unhinge your jaw to eat large objects? No, I can't. No. If you're asking about him, there's a couple of things that I've seen online. The thing with human jaws is that we have this kind of down and across, and that's one bone. But these guys have a different bone structure in their jaw, so they can actually open their jaw a lot wider because they've got this extra bone here. So no, they don't unhinge their jaw, they actually have a different bone structure. They also have their chin separate, and as you can see in this footage that I'm showing you right now, you can see where the two bones of his chin, where they normally connects, is actually spreading apart. And as he swallows, you can see on his lip kind of curling in as well, which is actually the thing that fascinates me the most when he feeds. I love watching his chin just kind of curl in to get that food down. It's really interesting. Blue Collar Heathen, or Jeff, he says, hi from him and Puck. Blue Collar Heathen, aka Jeff and Puck, say hello. Anyway, I hope you guys have really enjoyed this. I've been looking forward to filming and showing everyone about Lucius. He is such a cutie. Shameless plug, if you want more Lucius videos and things going on, such as feeding videos of him, that's Patreon only content. So if you want to go and check that out, just from $1 a month, you get to get extra Lucius stuff. So anyway, here he is. I hope you've enjoyed this question and answer. If you've got any more questions, please leave them in the comment below. And yeah, don't forget, don't give yourself the raw prawn. And a quick thank you to all of my patrons, especially my top patrons, Miss Nunya and Aided Furball. You guys are amazing and I really appreciate your support. Love you all.